Good afternoon, everyone. You've heard about this heat wave sweeping the UK and northern parts of Europe. Satellite photos here, Europeans' blistering heat waves. Well, it's starting to reveal ancient ruins everywhere. Foundations, ancient Henges, but along with the colliding weather fronts, impressive hail in France, massive snows in Italy. And where's this lightning coming from? And during these times of change, during the grand solar minimum intensification, we're going to have to start bringing our food production indoors. Take a look at the sprouts and the microgreens. TrueLeafMarket.com. The Adapt 2030 link is below in the description box. Right along with the tri-weekly podcast Mini Ice Age Conversations. That link is also in the description box along with all of tonight's images and stories. Now, the media has been focusing an enormous amount on that one area of heat in the entire Northern Hemisphere. But what's really interesting is this drought that's going on. They call it Europeans' blistering heat wave, parched yellow fields. Well, this happens every summer. There's always a drought going on in the summer that affects crop production. And the headline reads, Europe battles one of the most intense heat waves in history. Yeah, I wonder which number this would be down the line in terms of intensity. It's surely not number one, because that would be left for the Dust Bowl era. But take a look at the orange, which is the warning areas. The red is a super intense, but any way that we look at it, these old foundations are starting to emerge out of the fields. Grass fires, and then we have the drought, and then you're getting a hodgepodge of suddenly ruins appearing out of nowhere, but they only seem to be visible from low-flying aircraft. Let's take a look at a few examples that are popping up in the countryside here. This one in the grasslands of the Lin Peninsula. Now, what they're calling these things are crop marks, ancient sites. But it's incredibly interesting, even though they're farming in these fields, that these structures have not been discovered yet. Foundations are quite visible. You'd think they'd be out there, but these are the first time they're being discovered. And there's several of them. It's not one, it's multiples and multiples and multiples of these things, again, with the foundations. Got a Roman fort here. Close up here, you can easily see the foundations there. Up in Wales as well, wide drought, revealing what appears to be multiple Henges. Literally, you've heard of Stonehenge. Well, there are multiple Henges popping out of the countryside. They found 3 so far. And then there's cemeteries being discovered as well, Bronze Age cemeteries no less. Now you have to ask yourself, I mean, there's been droughts before, but why have these not been discovered? I mean, think about the Dust Bowl 1930s era. They had aircraft back then flying around. But these structures are rather large. It's not like you can just disappear like it's a penny that falls in a wheat field somewhere. But when you think about it, I mean, how many people are going out to this peninsula and really looking for these types of ruins that would be out there, foundations, cemeteries? But this is one that popped up that I think is the very best representation of what they're finding during this drought. This is very similar to Stonehenge in Ireland. Not a crop circle. This is what's under the ground that's now visible because of the parched landscape. And back to the temperature map here, the gradient map, anomalies of the difference in above normal temperatures or below normal temperatures. And what you're starting to see is weather fronts developing along the zones where these two air masses are colliding with the warm and the cold. Here's a perfect example. You can see the border of Spain there, right with France. Well, they've got this much hail. Alpine region, 20 centimeters thick. You have to remember 30 centimeters is a full foot. But this is what we're starting to see planet-wide with these enormous hail events now. Nothing is just a few pellets of ice falling from the sky. Now it's multiple feet deep even on the equator, which they had last year in South America. Also with these colliding weather fronts, let's take a look at northern Italy, 10,000 feet or so. But this much snow in July 21st, that's drifting. And this is on the backside of that same structure on the non-drifting side. That's a lot of snow for July. And also digging through Severe Weather EU's Twitter feed, they have this amazing image of lightning here. Thought I'd bring you a little beauty from nature. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. If you also want to see this in a blog post with text and images, head over to steemit.com, adapt 2030. And thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Make sure you click that bell to get the latest updates. Tri-weekly podcast, mini Ice Age conversations. That link is in the description box below. Just click on it, and that will take you right over to the podcast.